friends. I'm so glad you're back with me today. Yesterday, I asked you to think about what you thought was in the white bag that old man had and was offering to James. Today, we're going to find out what Roald Dahl thought was in the bag. So let's resume our story. Then the man came closer still, leaning forward and pushing his face so close to James that James could feel breath blowing on his cheeks. That would not be good nowadays, would it? No. The breath smelled musty and stale and slightly mildewed, like air in an old cellar. This makes me think of the way that an old towel smells, like a towel that's been hanging on the rack too long. Have you ever had that happen? I have too. It's not a pleasant smell. Take a look, my dear, he said, opening the bag and tilting it towards James. Inside it, James could see a mass of tiny green things that looked like little stones or crystals, each one about the size of a grain of rice. They were extraordinarily beautiful, and there was a strange brightness about them, a sort of luminous quality that made them glow and sparkle in the most wonderful way. Listen to them, the old man whispered. Listen to them move. James stared into the bag, and sure enough, there was a faint rustling sound coming from inside it. And then he noticed that all the thousands of little green things were slowly, very slowly, stirring about and moving over each other as if they were alive. There's more power and magic in those things than there is in all the rest of the world put together, the old man said softly. But what are they? James murmured, finding his voice at last. Where do they come from? Aha, the old man whispered. You'll never guess that. He was crouching a little now and pushing his face still closer and closer to James. Let me show you the illustration that Quentin Blake made of James standing next to this old man. There they are. Sorry, I've got to get that right with the camera. There they are. He was crouching a little now and pushing his face still closer and closer to James until the tip of his long nose was actually touching the skin on James's forehead. Ooh, gives me the shivers. Then suddenly he jumped back and began waving his stick madly in the air. Crocodile tongues, he cried. 1,000 long, slimy crocodile tongues, boiled up in the skull of a dead witch for 20 days and nights with the eyeballs of a lizard, and the fingers of a young monkey, the gizzard of a pig, the beak of a green parrot, the juice of a porcupine, and 3 spoonfuls of sugar. Where in the world did he find those things? Stew for another week, and then let the moon do the rest. All at once he pushed the white paper bag into James's hand and said, Here, take it. It's yours. Chapter 4. James Henry Trotter stood there clutching the bag and staring at the old man. And now, the old man said, all you've got to do is this. Take a large jug of water and pour all the little green things into it. Then very slowly, one by one, add 10 hairs from your own head. That sets them off. It gets them going. In a couple of minutes, the water will begin to froth and bubble furiously, and as soon as that happens, you must quickly drink it all down, the whole jugful, in one gulp. And then, my dear friend, you will feel it churning and boiling in your stomach, and steam will start coming out of your mouth, and immediately after that, marvelous things will start to happen to you. Fabulous, unbelievable things. And you will never be miserable again in your life. Because you are miserable now, aren't you? You needn't tell me. I know all about you. How do you think he knew? Now off you go and do exactly as I say, and don't whisper a word of this to your 2 horrible aunts. Not a word. And don't let those green things in there get away from you either, because if they do escape, they'll be working their magic upon someone else instead of you. And that isn't what you want at all, is it, my dear? Whoever they meet first, be it bug, insect, animal or tree, they will be the ones who get the full power of its magic. So hold the bag tight. Don't tear the paper. Off you go. Hurry up. Don't wait. Now's the time. Hurry. With that, the old man turned away and disappeared into the bushes. Chapter 5. The next moment, James was running back toward the house as fast as he could go. He would do it all in the kitchen, he told himself. If only he could get in there without Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker seeing him. He was terribly excited. He flew through the long grass and the stinging nettles, not caring whether he got stung on his bare knees. Stinging nettles are a kind of plant that's spiky and would be very uncomfortable to have in your skin. He saw in the distance Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker sitting in their chairs with their back towards him. He swerved away from them so as to go to the other side of the house, but then suddenly, just as he was passing underneath the old peach tree that stood in the middle of the garden, his foot slipped and he fell face flat on the ground. Poor James. The paper bag burst open and it hit the ground, and the thousands of tiny green things were scattered in all directions. See how the things were scattered? Can you see them down there? There's James. Oh, there we go. Poor James looks worried. His eyes look very big. He had hoped for a change in his life. Let's see what happens. James immediately picked himself up onto his hands and knees and started searching around for his precious treasures. But what was this? They were all sinking into the soil. He could actually see them wriggling and twisting as they burrowed their way downward in the hard earth, and at once he reached out a hand to pick up some of them before it was too late, but they disappeared right under his fingers. He went in after some others, and the same thing happened. He began scrabbling around frantically in an effort to catch hold of those that were left, but they were too quick for him. Each time the tips of his fingers were just about to touch them, they vanished. Poof! Under the earth. And soon, in the space of only a few seconds, every single one of them had gone. James felt like crying. He would never get them back now. They were lost forever. But where had they gone to, and why in the world had they been so eager to push down into the earth like that? What were they after? There was nothing down there. Friends, what do you think was down under that tree? Nothing except the roots of the old peach tree and a whole lot of earthworms and centipedes and insects living in the soil. Did you think of that too? But what was it that the old man had said? Whoever they meet first, be it bug, insect, animal, or tree, that will be the one that gets the full power of the magic. Good heavens, thought James. What is going to happen in the case that they do meet an earthworm, or a centipede, or a spider? And what if they do go into the roots of the peach tree? Get up at once, you lazy beast! A voice was suddenly shouting into James's ear. James glanced up and saw Aunt Spiker standing over him, grim and tall and bony, glaring at him through her steel-rimmed spectacles. Get back over there immediately and finish chopping those logs, she ordered. Aunt Sponge, fat and pulpy as a jellyfish. Oh, that is not a compliment, but boy, it's very creative language. Came waddling up behind her sister to see what was going on. Why don't we just lower the boy down into the well in a bucket and leave him there for the night, she suggested. Oh, they have such terrible ideas. That ought to teach him not to laze around like this the whole day long. Who was lazing around? Aunt Sponge and Aunt Spiker. You're right. Not James. That's a very good wheeze, my dear Sponge, but let's make him finish chopping the wood first. Be off with you at once, you hideous brat, and do some work. Slowly, sadly, poor James got up off the ground and went back to the wood pile. Oh, if he only hadn't slipped and fallen and dropped that precious bag. All hope of a happier life had gone completely now. Today and tomorrow and the next day and all the other days as well would be nothing but punishment and pain, unhappiness and despair. He picked up the chopper and was just about to start chopping away again when he heard a shout behind him that made him stop and turn. Chapter 6. Sponge, Sponge, come here at once and look at this! And what? It's a peach, Aunt Spiker was shouting. A what? A peach! Right up there on the highest branch. Can't you see it? Now, Quentin Blake we have to use our imagination with this one because we can see the tree and you can see which one is Aunt Sponge and which one is Aunt Spiker. One looks like a sponge and the other like a spike. But we can't see the peach yet. You have to use your imagination. I think you must be mistaken, my dear Spiker. That miserable tree has never had peaches on it. You're teasing. Oh, there is one, Sponge. Just look for yourself. You're teasing me, Spiker. You're making my mouth water on purpose when there's nothing to put in it. Why, that tree's never as much had a blossom on it, let alone a peach. Right up on the very highest branch, you say? I can't see a thing. Very funny. Ha ha! Goodness gracious me. Well, I'll be blown. There really is a peach up there. A nice big one, too, Aunt Spiker said. A beauty, Aunt Sponge cried out. At this point, James slowly put down his chopper, I think it's an axe, and looked across at the two women who were standing underneath the peach tree. Something is about to happen, he told himself. Something peculiar is about to happen any minute now. He hadn't the faintest idea what it might be, but he could feel in his bones that it was going to happen soon. He could feel in the air around him and the sudden stillness that had fallen over the garden. James tiptoed a little closer to the tree. The ants were not talking now. They were just standing there, staring at the peach. There was not a sound anywhere, not even a breath of wind, and overhead the sun blazed down upon them out of a deep blue sky. Looks ripe to me, Aunt Spiker said, breaking the silence. Then why don't we eat it, Aunt Sponge said, licking her thick lips. We can have half each. Hey, you, James. I'm sure you'll guess what they're going to ask him to do. Come over here at once and climb this tree. James came running over. I want you to pick that peach right up there on the highest branch, Aunt Sponge went on. Can you see it? Yes, Aunt Sponge, I can see it. And don't you dare eat any of it yourself. Your Aunt Spiker and I are going to have it between us right here now. Half each. Get on with it. Up you go. James crossed over to the tree trunk. Stop, Aunt Spiker said quickly. Hold everything. She was staring up into the branches with her mouth wide open and her eyes bulging, as though she had seen a ghost. Look, she said. Look, Sponge, look. Friends, at this point, we're going to take a break until tomorrow, but I would like for you, please, to draw a picture or write about what you think, or both, if you want to go above and beyond, that would be wonderful. And I'd like you to think about what Aunt Sponge, was it Aunt Sponge? No, Aunt Spiker. What Aunt Spiker saw. She saw something that made her really surprised. What do you think it was? I can't wait to find out tomorrow what you think it was. Until then, have a good afternoon and a good evening. Bye-bye.